Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Department of Toxic Substances Control Environmental Justice Advisory Council public meeting. Seeing that we have a quorum today, we will get the meeting started. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Today, we will have interpretation provided by Mark Gutierrez and Leticia, I'm sorry, I can't see your last name, Leticia Reyna.
Muy buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos a nuestra reunión pública del Consejo Asesor sobre la Justicia Ambiental del Departamento de Control de Sustancias Tóxicas. Les damos la bienvenida y queremos dejarles saber que tenemos un quórum, así que la reunión comenzará. Tendremos hoy interpretación disponibilizado por su servidor, Marco Gutiérrez y Leticia Reina.
Thank you, Mark. Before we begin today's meeting, I would like to share a few housekeeping items related to Zoom participation, interpretation, and the public comment period. Mark, if you'd please interpret.
Bien, y antes de empezar el día de hoy, quisiera compartir algunos recordatorios sobre el uso de la plataforma Zoom, nuestra función de interpretación y también el periodo de comentarios públicos.
Thank you. As mentioned, we will have translation available today provided by Mark and Leticia. There is also an option to select your language of choice. Everyone has to make a choice. If you see the interpretation globe at the bottom, maybe the top of your screen, please click it and select your language. All participants must need to select a language, either English or Spanish, to be able to hear the translators. For both tablet and phone users, you can click the More button on your screen to find the interpretation option. At the top of your screen, you can click on the Spanish translation tab to view the presentation in Spanish. Mark, please interpret.
Y queremos dejarles saber a todos que tenemos interpretación al vivo el día de hoy, de nuevo proporcionado por su servidor, Mark Gutiérrez y Leticia Reina, y tiene usted la opción de elegir entonces su idioma. De hecho, le pedimos a todos que por favor elijan su idioma, ahorita que estamos comenzando la reunión. En la parte inferior de su pantalla encontrará un icono de un globo terráqueo que dice Interpretation o Interpretación. Puede seleccionarlo y de ahí puede seleccionar su idioma, Spanish o español. Y claro, si está asistiendo por teléfono móvil o tableta, puede buscar en la parte inferior o superior de su pantalla unos 3 puntitos con la palabra More o más y puede seleccionar ahí su idioma. Le pedimos que elija una y también, claro, tiene la opción de elegir en qué idioma quisiera ver la presentación para el día de hoy. Okay, please continue.
Thank you. We will be hearing public comments today on 2 agenda items. We will call for virtual public comments by asking participants to raise their virtual hands. We ask that all Zoom participants remain muted until they are called on to speak. For virtual participants on a computer, you can find the Raise Your Hand feature under the React tab button. For phone or tablet virtual participants, you will find this feature under More. For phone participants, you can raise or lower your hand by pressing *9. Once you have been called on, please unmute yourself to provide public comment. For phone participants, you can mute and unmute yourself by pressing *6. We appreciate all participants staying on mute until it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and any affiliation before giving your public comment. Also, the chat feature will be turned on during the public comment period. We ask that EJAC members and the Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, wait to respond to public commenters, if desired, until all speakers are heard to ensure commenters have enough time to speak. We also ask that the EJAC members stay muted when not speaking and raise their virtual hands if possible. Mark?
Bien, thank you so much. Bien, y hoy también escucharemos comentarios públicos sobre el punto número 9 de nuestra agenda para el día de hoy. Recibiremos comentarios tanto de los asistentes presenciales como los que participan por medio de la plataforma Zoom. Para comentarios virtuales pediremos a todos los participantes que levanten la mano virtualmente y se les dará la palabra por orden en que levanten la mano. Claro, alternando entre participantes presenciales y virtuales para que cada punto de la agenda destinada a comentarios del público se escuche. Quienes participen desde una computadora encontrarán la función de levantar la mano virtual en la opción que dice React o Reacciones en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Mientras quienes usen teléfono o tableta la encontrarán en la opción que dice More o Más. Participantes que llamen por teléfono pueden levantar o bajar la mano presionando estrella 9. Y una vez que se les dé la palabra, por favor, activen su micrófono para poder comentar. Y para activar o desactivar el micrófono desde su teléfono, presionen, por favor, estrella 6. Les agradecemos a todos sus participantes que mantengan el micrófono silenciado hasta que llegue su turno de hablar. Y por favor, claro, indiquen su nombre y su afiliación antes de dar su comentario. Y claro, tendremos también la función de chat para poder digitar su comentario. Le pedimos, claro, a los miembros de nuestro Consejo Asesor EJAC o de la DTSC que esperen para responder hasta que se hayan escuchado todos los comentaristas para así poder responder plenamente. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Mark. Technical support will be provided today by Vivian Hune. If you need any additional assistance, we have help available at area code 916-869-5046 or via email to vivian.hune, vivian.huynh at dtsc.ca.gov. In addition, the meeting materials can be found at the link on the screen. It's the dtsc.ca.gov Environmental Justice Advisory Council. This meeting is being recorded today, and the meeting recording and other meeting items such as minutes can be found at the previously mentioned website following the meeting.
Y también queremos dejarles saber que tenemos soporte técnico disponible para el día de hoy. Si acaso tiene alguna dificultad, le pedimos por favor que marque el número aquí indicado en su pantalla, que es el 916-869-5046, o que envíe un correo electrónico a nuestro soporte técnico que será proporcionado por Vivian Hune. El correo electrónico es vivian.hune@dtsc.ca.gov. Y además, los materiales de la reunión se encuentran disponibles, en nuestro sitio web, que es https://dtsc.ca.gov/Environmental Justice Advisory Council. Y esta reunión, claro, se está grabando, así que le dejaremos saber que la grabación, junto con los documentos, como 2 minutos, estarán disponibles después de la reunión del día de hoy.
Please note that the link is now available in the chat for those who wish to use it.
Y por favor, sepa que el enlace previamente mencionado ya está disponibilizado aquí en la función de chat por si desea usarlo.
Now I would like to call for the EJAC member roll call. We ask that all EJAC members state their name, affiliation, and pronouns when called. Also, if you wish, please share how you were feeling coming into the meeting today. Let's start with the gentleman on the road, Miguel Alatorre.
Hello, everybody. My name is Miguel Alatorre Jr. I am the co-chair of the Environmental Justice Advisory Council here out of Kettleman City in Kings County. And I'm feeling really busy today and really hopeful.
Fantastic.
Pronouns he, him.
Okay. Thank you, Miguel. Kevin Hamilton. Let's see. I think Kevin's here today. Nam Nguyen?
Yeah, it's Nam Nguyen. I'm excited today. I'm a member of the EJACs, and I'm also excited to get this started.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nam. Magali Sanchez Hall.
Hi, everyone. Magali Sanchez Hall from Los Angeles region, Wilmington specifically with Emerge. And I'm looking forward to this meeting to fix some issues that we have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I believe Ms. LaVon Stone is not with us today. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you all so much. So I'd like to review the meeting agenda and our meeting agreements. The times, of course, are approximate and subject to change. There is a timer going on in my screen that we will keep track of the meeting, but we know that there are some opportunities for public comment and conversation on both the work plan and the open forum information that we want to make sure we give time and energy to. So agenda items may be taken out of order to accommodate speakers and to maintain a quorum. We already did the welcome. We will have the EJAC approve the June meeting minutes. We will have administrative announcements. There will be a public sharing of the work plan and the progress to date of the council. Continuation of permitting overview. It's an educational presentation, but an important one, and you'll understand why later. Open forum for our EJAC members. We will hear from Magali Sanchez Hall at that time, and opportunity for public comment. Next steps, and then adjournment. And for those that maybe saw the agenda and the slide deck in advance, we did make some last minute changes moving into tonight's business, where we've reorganized a couple of things just to keep related topics together. So we will first hear about the work plan and have public comment about that, and a council vote on that item specifically. And then we'll cover the permitting overview and a community update after that. So we're covering the same content, taking a few things out of order. Here are meeting agreements for today. We ask that you be fully present in the conversation. The work of the council is important to the people of the state of California. So we ask that you are here to fully engage. Be uninhibited. Your response is valued. We want to hear from you within the time constraints that we have, of course. So please be mindful of time. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes. That's why we have a timer going. So that we can keep track of that time, because we want to hear from as many people as possible. Disagreement is okay. We can agree to disagree. We're here to share information. So we want to focus on interest and not positions. Council members, are there any corrections to the June meeting minutes? Okay, thank you, Miguel.
No,
All right,
no corrections.
If there are no corrections, I'd like to call for a vote to approve the minutes. Miguel, do we still have you?
Looks like we lost him.
Okay. All right, then that means we don't have a quorum to approve the minutes at this moment in time. So when we get Miguel back, we will come back to approving the June meeting minutes. Are there any administrative announcements for this upcoming meeting, for any meeting?
I will just share the typical ones, and that is to encourage the EJAC members to process any of the paperwork that you have, any of the outstanding travel claims, TECs, so that we can get them processed going forward.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sirlene. Is there an update on the selection committee process?
I can speak to that as well. Thank you. As many of you all know, there are two vacancies, and we are in the process. We did the recruitment and the advertisement and solicitation and recruitment of applications. We got quite a few in, and the selection panel made up of myself, Swati Sharma, who's the director of the Board of Environmental Safety, and co-chair Miguel Alatorre are in the process of interviewing candidates now. We think we'll be done by the end of next week, and then we'll spend some time with the selection discussion, and then we'll be able to hopefully identify someone by the end of the month. So 1st of August, we should have 2 new EJAC members to bring on board.
Fantastic. That is wonderful. Thank you so much for that information.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was also so we were going to hear the EJAC work plan and safer consumer product update, also known as SCP by the Equity and Wellness Institute. Sirlene, I have here that you were going to put some context around the work plan.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to talk about the work plan now.
Yes, and that it's part of the council's structured legacy work, and does not replace or delay the EJAC's ability to advocate on urgent present-day community issues.
Okay. Thank you for that tease.
You're welcome.
So yeah, so I know that a lot of you in this meeting today are ready to pour into some conversation about some things that are very pressing to you right now. And the work plan may not seem to be the thing that's most important, but it is important for us to get a work plan, get it in place, so we know where we're going in the future. That does not preclude the EJAC, DTSC, or the BES from addressing your urgent concerns, as we often call the urgency of now. That does not preclude any of us from addressing the things that are facing us now as we plan for the future. So they're not mutually exclusive. They don't take from each other, but they go together, running on parallel tracks at maybe different time frames. So we just wanted everybody to understand the work of the EJAC is multifaceted, which will come up in the work plan as you see the different areas that we're going to do the work in. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that context. Now we are going to hear from Dr. Temu Green with the Equity and Wellness Institute, also kindly known as EQUI. Dr. Green.
Thank you so much, Annette. I appreciate that. And Serlene for that kind of context as well. So good afternoon, everyone. And it's wonderful to see you all again. Since we last met, our role at the Equity and Wellness Institute has been to take the priorities that you identified and begin building the structure needed to put those priorities into action. So today, I'd like to briefly share what we've been working on, where we are now, and what comes next. Before I jump into the update, I want to acknowledge what it was that Serlene was saying in her introduction, which is that the council is addressing many different environmental justice issues at the same time, and some require immediate attention while others involve building long-term systems for stronger community engagement. The work I'm sharing today is one piece of that larger effort. It doesn't replace the council's advocacy on current community concerns. It helps build the relationships and engagement processes that will strengthen those efforts over time. So one of the areas of the work plan is collaboration with the Safer Consumer Products Program. Over the past several weeks, our team met with the Safer Consumer Products Program, or SCP, to develop a shared approach for implementing the council's priorities. Working together with DTSC and the Safer Consumer Products Program, we explored how community voices can be brought into the product review process earlier and in a more meaningful way. One opportunity the council is considering is partnering with the Safer Consumer Products Program around one of the product areas. They are currently evaluating one or more of those product areas. And these recommendations came from the program itself based on where they are in their review process and where community input could be most useful at this point in time. So today we're going to ask the council's guidance on where to focus those engagement efforts. And based on our discussions, again, with the Safer Consumer Products Program, there are 3 options for the council to consider. The first one is going to be to focus community engagement on hair straightening products. The second option is going to be to focus community engagement on synthetic hair products. And the third is to determine that neither of these product areas is the right focus for the council at this time, and to revisit this opportunity in the future. So our goal today is not to begin discussing the products themselves in detail, but rather we're asking the council to determine whether one of these opportunities aligns with its priorities, so we can begin designing a meaningful community engagement process around that topic. And to help guide this work over the next several months, we're asking the council to identify which of these product options, if any, it would like to focus its community engagement efforts on first. I want to underscore that today's decision isn't about endorsing or evaluating these products. It's about identifying where the council would like to focus its community engagement efforts based on the opportunities that are currently available through the Safer Consumer Products Program. And our facilitator, Annette Smith, is going to call for the vote following my report out. So another area in the work plan has been to identify priority communities. So working together with council members, we also identified the communities where we will focus our outreach efforts during the next several months. These communities reflect the geographic diversity of California, as well as many of the environmental justice issues represented by council members. Our goal is to build relationships in these communities while remaining responsive to emerging concerns as they arise. These priority communities include the Salton Sea region, Central Valley, Fort Ord and Monterey Bay region, Inland Empire, Southeast Los Angeles and Vernon, Wilmington and Compton, tribal communities, and youth-focused organizations and networks. So focusing our work in these areas will help ensure we hear directly from communities that experience disproportionate environmental burdens and whose voices are essential to informing DTSC's work. Another important effort that has begun is the development of what we're calling the California Environmental Justice Engagement Ecosystem. So this will be a statewide resource that identifies and organizes community-based organizations, environmental justice organizations, tribal governments and organizations, coalitions and collaborative networks, youth organizations, and trusted community leaders. And the ecosystem will become a living resource that helps the council and DTSC build stronger relationships across California, improve outreach efforts, reduce duplication, and connect with trusted local partners when community engagement opportunities arise. So ultimately, our goal is simple. We want to create meaningful opportunities for communities to shape the decisions that affect their lives. And everything we've been building over the past several weeks, from the implementation work plan to community partnerships, engagement strategies, and future listening sessions, is intended to support that goal. And with that in mind, we'd really like the council's guidance on the next step in this work. I will also say that if you are a member of the public listening in today and you think that there is an organization that should be included in this California environmental justice engagement ecosystem, feel free to put that in the chat. We would love to collect that from you and any contact information that you have as we are essentially building this database. Okay, next slide, please. So we are looking to approve the full EJAC work plan. But in terms of what we're looking at that's coming up just over the next month, We're finalizing plans for community outreach. We are continuing to build relationships with community partners across California. Again, expanding our network of environmental justice organizations, tribal partners, youth organizations, and community leaders, and preparing and scheduling community listening sessions. And so essentially the work plan itself is in service of this larger goal that we've been talking about of really pulling in meaningful opportunities for communities to shape the decisions that affect their lives. And I look forward, of course, to answering any questions that you may have about it. We sincerely appreciate your guidance for your continued leadership throughout this process. And we're really excited to continue building on the direction you've provided and look forward to bringing these engagement efforts to life in partnership with the council and DTSC staff and community members. Next slide, please. Okay. And as I mentioned, Annette is going to take you through the approval process. And so I will hand this back over to you, Annette.
Thank you so much, Dr. Green. Before we open the discussion, I want to make sure that the term SCP is clear, and that is the Safer Consumer Products. If you hear SCPP, that's the Safer Consumer Products Program. The DTSC program SCP work sits under. I'd now like to open the floor for public comment specific to the work plan and the work plan only. The work plan is posted publicly on the DTS site, and an updated version was shared with EJAC members last week. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. Please state your name and affiliation if relevant. If you are on Zoom and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand now. We will start with Zoom speakers, then comments from the Spanish language dial-in line. Then we will read comments from the chat aloud. Do we have any comments yet?
Nothing yet. No hands up.
Okay. I will give it 30 more seconds. Ricardo.
Hey, how's it going? I came in late in the meeting, so I'm not sure if these comments are for the experience of the facility or otherwise. Not because.
Did we lose you?
No, I'm saying I came in late in the meeting. I'm not sure if the comments are meant for the facility, the royal facility, or in general. Comments.
Oh, this is. Thank you so much, Ricardo, for that clarification. This particular comment period is specific to the work plan that was just discussed. You will have an opportunity to comment on the other subject that we haven't told anyone about yet after we hear from Magali Sanchez Hall a little bit later.
Okay, then no comment at this moment. I'll wait.
Thank you, Ricardo. Hang in there with us. Eric Nolan. Eric, are you still muted? Do you have a comment?
I'm sorry, I was double muted. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It never fails. I wanted to just make a general comment. In looking at the work plan, it looks very thorough. I was curious, though, if the council had considered adding into the work plan something to look into emerging issues as we go forward and see new things pop up. For example, PFAS issues and other issues, how those emerging issues might come into play. And are we actually looking at ways to project into the future to see if maybe we see things that might be coming up?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Green. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to wait for the other public comments. I apologize. My error. Thank you so much, Eric. Any other comments on the work plan?
I just want to ask Annette, maybe if our team can check whether the chat is disabled. I'm not sure whether folks are able to put comments in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Green.
I just changed the settings, so thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, so if you have any questions and you didn't feel comfortable coming on camera or on audio, feel free to put them in the chat now, please.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Dr. Green, for lifting that up. And since we have just a moment, I did not introduce myself. I'm Annette Smith. I am the facilitator for this excellent conversation here with my colleague, Matthew Stegmeyer, who is managing our logistics and behind the scenes work. He's doing a great job with that. So if you have any comments related to the work plan, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And do we have any comments on the Spanish dial-in line?
While you're waiting to hear that, I also want to just say that since the chat has been opened, if you do want to respond to the California Environmental Justice Engagement ecosystem and put in names of organizations or contacts that we should be adding to that database, feel free to do that now that the chat is open.
Fantastic. All right, for Mark and Letitia, are there any comments in Spanish related to the work plan? Oh, hold on. There's something in the chat. No comments. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Dr. Green, would you like to respond to Eric's question about the scope of the work plan?
Yeah, thank you so much. The work plan was a way for us to get started on the work, but it was really the intention that this would be a living document, that it would be revisited with the council on a monthly basis when we meet with them. And so as issues do emerge, we're able to modify the work plan to take account of those issues. Thank you for raising that question.
Wonderful. Are there any other public comments? I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity.
Cynthia, I see your comment in the text, and yes, we're building off of the lists that have been provided, but we're not kind of like resting on those lists as being the definitive ones. So that's why we're continuing to build them out.
Thank you. And do we have Miguel back yet?
I think we do.
Miguel, are you with us?
He was earlier.
Magali, I see your hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that we are going to be most likely voting on this. However, we might have to go back to the drawing board and also look at, as what it was mentioned by someone right now, the priorities, right? That we talked about, what priorities real time, because there are critical issues that we need to address in real time. So I believe, I'm not sure if this is already for us to be talking about, or should we wait for Miguel to come back? But just wanted to let the people that were commenting before that we are not all of us are basically going with priorities right now for the work plan as it is. So I guess we'll be discussing that as soon as Miguel jumps in, right?
Correct. Thank you, Magali. So right now we do not have a quorum. So as soon as Miguel is back, we will be able to do a roll call vote on this item.
Dr. Smith, Miguel is showing.
I know, but
yeah, I'm still here, and I'm most definitely present.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you. I couldn't see you, and I did. Okay, fantastic. Then, all right. Yeah, if there are no other.
If I could say a couple words, what I will say on the work plan is, I want to bring up something that Magali just mentioned in terms of going back to the drawing board. and I think that maybe we're too hasty in focusing on multiple things at once. And I'm wondering and curious to hear from other EJAC members if we had to narrow down our focus from the 3 priorities that we're currently looking at, which is the safer consumer products, the community engagement, and the collaboration between us and other environmental justice advisory councils. I'm wondering if there's one of those 3 that we can possibly do a more effective effort in getting done than splitting our focus into 3 different things. And if I could be so bold as to say, if I had to choose one, I think the public engagement process is something that we would.
Miguel, we just lost you at the. We lost Miguel. Hold on. We lost you. You dropped off when you said the public engagement, and then we lost you. Can you say that again, please?
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to remember what I just said.
I'm sure it was fabulous, but if you could just.
Oh, it wasn't that great, but I was getting some discussion going. But either who, with the public engagement, I think that we could do a better job in hyper focusing on public engagement and making sure that we create real tangible metrics and real tangible outcomes in terms of what we're doing with regards to getting the public more in touch with DTSC and for DTSC to make themselves more accessible to the public. And I know and want to say that this may not lead to the immediate change of outcomes that we're looking for, but I think with regards to the 3 things that are on our plate, I think community engagement is something that we could measure and something that we can actually increase and see more different and diverse faces on not only the EJAC meetings, but the Board of Environmental Safety meetings, as well as other Department of Toxic Substances Control meetings also. So I'll hand the floor to any council member that wants to weigh in.
Thanks, Miguel. I see that Nam Nguyen has his hand up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Magali and Miguel that like we should definitely focus more on one priority than spreading our focus, since this work plan has been taking a while as well. And I also think it's like important to have focus more specifically in community engagement, specifically like for like emerging problems that happen as well, because it's like it's something that happens like from like issues we have from a long time ago or issues we have now. I can say though that I also agree that we can approve the work plan as it is and still change it in the future, just to have something down and have our priorities set. And if some priorities don't work, like the 3 we have here, then we can potentially change it in the future. But I'm also not against just focusing on one priority. And I would love to have more conversations about this too with other EJAC members.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Is it okay if I respond to these comments?
Let me just ask for any other public comment before you respond. Okay, seeing nothing, Dr. Green.
Well, I think that's actually a really helpful way to think about it, that we've increasingly been seeing community engagement as the umbrella priority, or if you might want to call it, as the umbrella priority with the safer consumer products work and the collaboration with the other EJACs becoming ways that priority comes to life. So if the council would rather organize the work around one overarching priority with multiple implementation areas or work streams underneath it, we can absolutely adjust the work plan to reflect that. Right. So implementation areas might be the safer consumer products, it'd be collaboration with other EJACs, community partnership development, listening sessions, an ambassador network, an engagement toolkit, any of those could sort of fall under that umbrella category.
Wonderful. Thank you. Magali?
Yes. So when we started this EJAC, there was something that we talked about, and I think it's important to recognize that the community, that we're here because of the community. And we are actually doing this work because we care for the community, and the community needs to be informed, but also the community has information that we don't have. And they're the ones that in what I call the reverse engineer community engagement, they should be telling us what to do instead of us imposing. And I keep on repeating this, and I know my colleagues hear me all of the time saying this, but I believe that the community engagement process should be first for them to tell us what they care, what are the pressing issues that they're going through, and then for us as environmental justice activists, come together and present this so we can tackle these issues together with the community, leading with the community, and the community being in front of us as well. So, or on the side of us, but I truly believe that the community engagement should be priority at all the times, but on reverse, instead of us coming to tell them what we think they should be, getting information or education or workshops, that they should tell us, look, this is happening in my community. How can we fix this? How can we address this? How can we go against the systems that are already in place? How do we break through? That's the things that we should be doing as EJAC, in my view. I come from the environmental justice activism, hardcore at grassroots. So all of this for me, it's more like imposing and coming into the spaces to tell them what I think they should be knowing or getting educated on, things like that. But that's just my...
Right. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Thank you, Magali. All right, for the work plan, the EJAC work plan as presented, are there any final comments from the public, from the Spanish language line?
There was a comment in the chat from Eric Nolan regarding identifying priority communities for outreach, not hearing Richmond or the East Bay area listed. Should I respond to that?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the priority communities came from essentially the research that DTSC had been doing, but also the expertise that the council was bringing, that individual council members were bringing to the council. So that's why you'll see that a lot of the communities that are reflected in the priority communities are the communities of the council members. And so I just wanted to put that out there in terms of how those priority communities were established, kind of like as Magali was saying, if we're going to the communities and hearing from them, having those established relationships and that knowledge of those communities is really critical.
Thank you, Dr. Green.
Mm-hmm.
Miguel.
I also want to make a comment with regards to the exclusion of other communities. And what I would say is we did put out a search for candidates, and we haven't finished our search. Mm-hmm. And so I want to say there are potential candidates that may be from the Bay Area and representing those areas. And so I would say stay tuned for that.
Thanks, Miguel. So for anyone who's on the call or in the meeting, if you have an interest in serving, it sounds like you still may have an opportunity. Is that correct? Great.
No. The application process, the application period is closed. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But they are more than welcome, of course, to come to these meetings, these public meetings,
come to these
and
meetings.
Provide insight, and that's why we hold them. So we'd love to hear from you.
So, since I jumped in, if I can,
of course.
To Ms. Babbitt's question about the list that we have existing, to Mr. Nolan's question, we have an EJ community organization, an EJ community activist list that is quite extensive. We probably don't have everybody because there are so many different causes that come up, and as someone said, emerging trends and new people. So we're open to always having other people. I can't speak for the EJAC, but although the EJAC members do bring their own communities, in discussions that are around policy, from my chair, from where I sit, and I guess I should have identified myself. I'm Serlene Grant, the Deputy Director of the Office of Environmental Equity, and that is the division in DTSC in which the EJAC is housed, but the EJAC serves all of DTSC. And in the chair that I sit, we may look at something that is particular to one community, and depending on what that issue is, we might have to respond to that community in the moment. But we also look at it as, because we're a statewide organization, what is happening in other communities that may have the same thing, same concerns, and how can what we're doing here apply to those other communities. So I don't want people to feel like they're excluded from having their voices heard, which is what the community engagement that the council members are talking about tonight. I don't want people to feel like they're not being heard or not being recognized. We are trying our best to make sure we reach out to everyone. And I hope that helps. That's what I'll say.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Serlene. Okay, on the work plan, public comment opportunity, going once, going twice. Fantastic. Hearing nothing, we are going to move into the approval process. So I'd like to call for a roll call vote. First, do the council members in attendance, since we have a quorum, approve the council's work plan as presented?
I want to say no. I think we need to go back to the drawing board in terms of what we're focusing on. I think we need to look at what's realistic, what's movable, and what increases our ability to put more leverage on DTSC for us to see the things we need to change. And I think that public engagement is essential in this. And so I would say I vote no on this work plan. And I know that may seem like we're going backwards or that controversial take, but again, I think I've given it more thought in terms of what we can do and what's movable. And so I vote no on this plan.
Thank you, Miguel. Well, since then we would not have a quorum. We would not have, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. It doesn't matter. So we can defer the council's decision until the next month's meeting with the understanding that it will delay the work by 1 month. And do I need to get agreement from the council members? Do I need a roll call for that?
I would like my fellow council members to have their ability to say their piece, because they might disagree with my take. So I'm open to hear that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a controversial take. I think it's I feel like the work plan is in its bare bones right now isn't something that would work well with our current commitments and priorities. I think if we revise it a little bit better, focus on more specific things, and as like what Magali said, to have more community input on this later on, it will make it stronger as well.
Okay, fantastic. Then we will defer the decision. Magali, did you have something to add?
Yeah, and also thank you so much. And also I think that we will be a conduit in a way later on as a path for DTSC to do their work as they need to engage the community and educate the community. But for now, I think our job is, we have a lot of pressing issues that are happening in our communities that need our attention. And I think we should be, I truly appreciate both of you, Miguel and for saying no and for going back to the drawing board, and looking forward to working with you with the community as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. For the record, we are going to defer the approval of the work plan to subsequent meetings. All right. So from a process position, now that we have our 3 board members, it's time to approve the June meeting minutes before we move forward.
Ooh, I'm sorry. We just had an earthquake. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's approve them quickly. Whoa. I know that there's been some rumblings happening. So, all right. I believe everyone had an opportunity to weigh in, all the council members that are present to weigh in on whether or not there were any corrections to the June meeting minutes. Assuming there are no new corrections, I'd like to call for approval of the minutes, starting with Miguel.
I'm sorry, I approve.
Thank you. Nem?
I approve.
Magali?
I approve.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. For anyone who might be experiencing an earthquake, please make sure that you keep yourself safe. We'd love for you to to continue with the call, but also understand that you need to do what you need to do. Okay. So thank you for that discussion. And for the council members' guidance and input. Now we are moving into the continuation of the permitting process, permitting overview. Before we go further, I want to clarify one thing that's come up in the community conversation. And Serlene, this is the part that we talked about, and I don't know if you wanted to take this one or if you'd like me to continue with this context. This was referencing the temporary authorization for the Domino Codon facility. You're muted.
Go ahead, please, with the
Sure.
segue you have. Yes.
Yep. Okay. So recently, DTSC provided a temporary authorization for the Domino Codon facility, also known as DK, that you may have heard referenced, and it was alluded to in some of our prior conversations. I want those in attendance to know that that authorization was narrow. It allowed a specific piece of equipment, a centrifuge, to be used while cleaning out one storage tank, and it ends when that clean out is done. It is separate from and does not decide the facility's permit, which will go through its own public process this fall. I know that distinction hasn't always been communicated clearly, and I wanted to make sure that we understood that up front. And it really does lead well into our next agenda item, which is a continuation of the permitting overview. It's an educational presentation, but it helps you understand. It helps the participants understand how important public engagement, as the council members were just talking about, is into the process, into the permitting process. It's going to be a general overview of how DTSC's hazardous waste permitting process works. It is not specific to any one facility, though it will help provide context for the community update that follows. With us today is Anadeep Kaur from DTSC. He is a senior hazardous substances engineer, and he will present, and I will drive for you, Anadeep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Annette. Thank you so much for that introduction and precursor. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. My name is Anudeep, and I'll be guiding you through today's presentation. The goal is to share with public an overview of the permitting process. We have designed this presentation to be straightforward and accessible. We'll make sure to avoid any unnecessary technical language, and if anything does come up that needs clarification, I'll explain it as we go. Okay, we are in the second slide. So the main purpose of this presentation is to help public learn how the hazardous waste permitting process works. When people understand what DTSC does, they can ask the right questions, share concerns, and stay involved, because communities have the right to know what's happening around them. DTSC's work, such as permitting hazardous waste facilities or cleaning up contamination that directly affects the health, safety, and environment of nearby residents. Next slide, please. So what is a hazardous waste? A hazardous waste is any discarded solid, liquid, or contained gas that can be harmful to people or the environment. And what this means is, if it is ignitable, it can catch fire easily. If it is corrosive, it can burn skin or metal. If it is reactive, it can explode or release toxic gases. If it is toxic, it can poison people or wildlife. Next slide, please. So now let's see the cradle to grave process of the hazardous waste. On the left side of the image, you see the hazardous waste is being collected from businesses that create or generate it. The waste is then transported by a truck shown in the center of the image. Some types of hazardous waste can go to a recycling facility instead of treatment, storage, or disposal. At the recycling facility, the waste is cleaned, separated, or processed, so parts of it can be used again in new products. This can be considered as a treatment also. If nothing can be done to the waste, then it is neutralized and disposed at a disposal facility. Next slide, please. So we have heard the word TSDF a lot in the past. What it means is a treatment, storage, or disposal facility. DTSC approves two main types of TSDF permits. The first one is the full permits. This is issued to big hazardous waste facilities that come under the federal rules. The second one is the standardized permits issued to smaller facilities that follow state rules. For example, your used motor oil is not a federal waste, but it is a waste in California, so a hazardous waste permit is required for that. Sometimes full permits use both federal and state rules because the hazardous waste facilities must protect communities under all applicable safety standards. Using both sets of rules create a stronger oversight and keeps the facilities safer. The COOPAS, on the other hand, gives permits, inspect facilities, and enforce the rules in the local areas. These are not handled by DTSC. There are a total of 102 permitted facilities in California and thousands of COOPA permitted sites. Next slide, please. So far, we talked about waste. Next, we want to see what is a permit. A permit sets the rules for how the hazardous waste work must be done to protect communities. It is a written document that gives approval for different hazardous waste activities. It includes rules and limits for treating, storing, moving, or disposing of this waste. It also has a full description of the facility. It includes information on how the facility will close and how it will pay for its closure. It also has plans for environmental monitoring. To also note, permits are valid for 10 years, which are enforced by regular inspections. Next slide, please. Again, to reiterate, permitting oversees facilities that treat, store, or move hazardous waste. Some of the examples include hazardous waste landfills. We permit both open and closed. Recyclers, like the used oil recyclers, metal recyclers, etc. Below are some of the examples of waste types and facility types that handle these wastes. For example, the used oil, we have Safety Clean and World Oil Environmental Services, which usually handle used oil. And then we have mixed waste. This involves Diablo Canyon Power Plant and San Onofre Nuclear Generation Station. This nuclear generation station is actually undergoing closure currently. Next, we have the landfills. We have two operating landfills, which are Kettleman Hills and Buttonwillow, that are active. Rest of the landfills are in post-closure care. And then we have surface impoundments. These are mostly seen in refineries, and these are also in post-closure care. For example, there are Phillips 66 refineries, Central Wire, etc. Next slide, please. This slide here shows the permitted sites over time. As you can see, the number of sites with operating permits has steadily decreased over the past 4 decades, falling from more than 400 in 1980 to fewer than 70 in 2024. Next slide, please. This map here shows a snapshot of DTSC permitted hazardous waste management facilities in California. There are 65 operating permits and 37 post-closure permits, making it a total of 102 that we mentioned earlier. So operating permits allow the facility to treat, store, or dispose hazardous waste safely. whereas post-closure permits apply after a facility stops handling hazardous waste, mostly landfills and surface impoundments. The goal is to make sure the closed unit stays safe for as long as necessary and doesn't harm the environment. In addition to the permitted facilities, DTSC also oversees 1,800 cleanup sites, nearly half of which are in environmental justice communities. Next slide, please. So what does the permitting division do? The role is to protect communities, listen to public input, and communicate. Permitting reviews, approves, or denies post-closure permit applications, operating permit applications, permit modifications, emergency permits, facility or unit closures, and variances. Permitting also assists regulated industries, DTSC enforcement, and other regulatory agencies on permit-related matters. Next slide, please. Let's look into the permitting process a little detail. As you can see on the screen, it has 5 phases: the pre-application phase, the administrative review phase, the technical review phase, draft permit phase, and the final permit phase. Next slide, please. So the process starts with the pre-application phase. In this phase, DTSC meets with the facility before the application is submitted to go over permitting process and answer any questions that the facility has. DTSC also prepares a cost reimbursement agreement and a project schedule with a timeline. The cost reimbursement is what the facility pays to DTSC for reviewing their permit applications. Then we have the administrative review phase. Next slide, please. Administrative review phase, here is when the permitting project manager, as we call PPM, has 30 days from when the application is received to check and decide if it is administratively complete. The application should include an operations plan, health risk assessment, disclosure statement, CEQA form, etc. DTSC must also receive a signed cost reimbursement agreement and a 25% advance payment for the application to be considered administratively complete. Next slide, please. Then we enter the technical review phase. Here we issue a notice of deficiency, which is what we call an NOD, to the permit applicant for technically inadequate application, and instruct resubmittals of the revised application to address these deficiencies. Each application is reviewed by subject matter experts who look closely at the facility's plans to make sure the waste will be handled safely and it stayed contained. Different specialists check for different parts of the application. For example, engineers check the design of the buildings, tanks, pipes, and equipment to make sure the facility can safely handle hazardous waste without leaks or accidents. Expert review is important because it helps catch problems early, ensures the facility is built and operated safely, and protects nearby communities and environment from hazards. Next slide, please. Once the technical deficiencies are resolved, we go to the draft permit phase. In the draft permit phase, we issue a public notice, and public meetings are held, followed by the public comment period. This is an important step for the public because when communities understand the permitting process, the cleanup work, and the safety steps, it helps everyone feel more comfortable and informed. Also, public oversight is part of the law. State and federal regulations require public notices, comment periods, access to documents for hazardous waste permitting and cleanup actions. This, in total, ensures the decisions are made more openly, not behind closed doors, and helps people get the information they need, lets them share their thoughts, and support DTSC in protecting the community. Next slide, please. Then we have the final permit phase. As we saw in the draft permit phase, we received the comments. Based on the comments received during the public comment period, DTSC may do one of the two: issue the draft permit as proposed or issue it with changes. Once issued, the permit allows the permittee to operate for 10 years. During the life of the permit, DTSC can modify the permit anytime if necessary. Next slide, please. I would like to reiterate the public involvement during the process that we just saw. First, during the pre-application phase, there will be a public meeting, which is held for certain facilities. Then there will be a public notice when the application is received and accepted by DTSC in the administrative review phase. In the technical review phase, community surveys are done by meeting with residents, answer questions, and provide access to project documents. During the draft permit phase, there is a public notice, along with fact sheets and other documents to keep the public informed. Then we hold public meetings, followed by the public comment period for a community input, to give communities a voice in decisions that affect their health and safety. All of this is to build trust through transparency and early involvement, to improve decisions by listening to local concerns and expertise. There is also an appeal process where a permit decision can be appealed to the newly appointed board for further review. A final goal is to issue or deny a permit to protect human health and environment. Next slide, please. In this slide, I would like to show some of the examples of the permit application contents. For example, it has a training plan. The training plan includes how workers learn to handle the hazardous waste safely. It helps make sure everyone knows what to do and how to follow the rules. The contingency plan details on how to react if there is an emergency, like a fire or a spill. It helps protect people and the environment when something goes wrong. The financial assurance shows that the facility has money set aside to close the site safely as needed. This makes sure the facility pays for the closure and not the public. There are special rules for different parts of a facility, like tanks, containers, landfills. They explain how each part must be built and used to keep the hazardous waste safe. Next slide, please. Here are some of the examples of the equipment, or as we call units, in the permit. On the left, you can see a tank storage area with multiple tanks. On the right is the drum storage area. At the bottom right, you can see what an operating landfill looks like. And on the left of it is what a landfill in post-closure care looks like. Next slide, please. Next, I would like you to introduce some other authorizations that permitting does apart from issuing a permit. Most of the time, the permittee will be requesting them, and these are not from DTSC. Next slide, please. So first, we have the permit modifications. What is it actually? If you remember, permits are valid for 10 years. In that time, if there is any change in the permit or the application, we do a permit modification. The modification can range from an operations change, waste that is being handled, any regulatory change, and so on. Next slide, please. Here we have 4 major permit modifications that permitting division does, which are Class 1, 1-star, Class 2, and Class 3. First, we'll look at the minor change modifications, which are Class 1 and Class 1-star. A Class 1 is a simple change where the facility does not need DTSC's prior approval or check with CEQA regulations. Whereas a 1-star is also a small change, but it needs DTSC's approval first before the change is put into effect, and also a CEQA review. These do not weaken the safety standards or the facility's ability to protect health and the environment. In both cases, a public notice is sent to everyone on the mailing list. A simple example of these two would be a facility contact name change and the ownership name change of the facility. Both of these are name changes, whereas a contact name change falls under class 1, but the ownership change is a class 1 star. Next slide, please. We have the class 2 and class 3, which are the bigger changes to operations, waste handled, etc. Similar to 1 and 1 star, these two also have some similarities and differences. For example, if a tank is being added to the facility, if the total approved capacity is 25% more than the original, then it is a class 3 modification. If not, it is a class 2 modification. Since these are major changes, there is a public notice that is issued in the major local newspaper, followed by a public meeting and a public comment period before a final modified permit is issued. Next slide, please. Then we have the temporary authorizations, which are issued to permitted facilities only. The facility can request a temporary authorization, which lasts for 180 days. Since the class 2 and class 3 modifications that we saw earlier are larger changes and might take time for DTSC to review, facilities can request a temporary authorization. DTSC can give one extra 180-day extension as well. The facility must publish a notice in the major local newspaper within 7 days after sending in the request. These are only approved if the change helps protect public health and the environment. Next slide, please. Finally, we have the emergency permits, and these can be issued to anyone. An emergency permit lets DTSC quickly allow a facility to safely handle dangerous waste for a short time when there is a serious danger to human health or environment. It can be used for up to 90 days and helps protect people and environment. Public notice will also be issued for this as well. A simple example is if there is an expired reactive chemical in a lab, this can be issued an emergency permit to stabilize the chemical before it is transported and disposed safely. Next slide, please. Then we have the permit enforcement. The issued permits are enforced by regular inspections from the enforcement inspectors. These are routine inspections and have scores called the VSP scores. The VSP scores affect the permit decision and are taken into consideration during the permit process. Fines are also issued if violations are not corrected on time or if there are any repetitive offenses, sometimes leading to suspension or revocation of the permit. Each year, DTSC conducts around 500 to 600 inspections, with 60 to 70 of these occurring at the permitted TSDFs, subject to the VSP. Next slide, please. Agencies typically categorize violations based on risk and regulatory significance. The Class 1 violation, which is a significant violation, is issued when it poses a threat to human health or environment. Major regulatory failures, improper storage, handling, unsafe container management, missing contingency plan, training deficiencies, and so on. The Class 2 are the minor violations, such as record-keeping issues, minor labeling deficiencies, late reports, etc. Next slide, please. Finally, before we close out, I'd like to take this opportunity to show you some of the resources on our website that are available to the public. The link for the DTSC website and the Enviro store will be put in the chat. Next slide, please. So if you visit the DTSC website's main page, you can see a section on how to get involved on the top. If you look at the picture on the left, you will see the How to Get Involved dropdown. And if you click on it, you can see a lot of options. The two main ones are the e-list and DTSC calendar. The e-list is an email subscription system that DTSC uses to share information with the public. When you sign up and subscribe to specific topics, you will get the email updates about those items on that list. For example, there is a list for regulatory changes, program updates, public meetings, workshops, announcements, etc. You only receive information if DTSC sends an email out. On the right, you see an example of the DTSC calendar, where you can look at upcoming permitting events in the calendar to keep yourself up to date on the issues you're interested in. Next slide, please. Second thing I want to talk about is the permitting division page itself. If you see the picture on the top left is the hazardous waste dropdown located on the DTSC homepage. If you click on it and select the permitting page, it takes you to the page shown on the right. Here we have a section for community information and EnviroStore. Next slide, please. There are a lot of resources in this page, such as public notices, appeals, EnviroStore, etc. If you click on the EnviroStore, you will be taken to the EnviroStore website. Here you can search specific facilities, or you can just put in any address and view a map of what's nearby. For example, if you see the ones on the screen is for a facility, there is a lot of information. There is the project manager name that is located on the top right that you can contact for that particular facility and ask the facility related questions. There is a permitting information page. There is an enforcement inspections information tab and all the facility related documents tab at the center of the page. You can also sign up for email alerts for each individual facility to be informed of any major changes that happen for that particular facility. Next slide, please. Once again, I would thank you for the opportunity to present this. If you have any other questions, you can always reach out to us at permittingfeedback@dtsc.ca.gov. There is also a phone number that will be put in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anadeep, for sharing your immense knowledge with all of us. We'll take a few minutes for council questions about the general permitting process now. If your question or comment is about a specific facility or incident, please hold it for public comment, which is coming up shortly on this same topic. Are there any questions or comments from the EJAC members? Magali, we're coming to you in just a second for your open forum.
Oh, that's fine. No, I have some questions about disposing of waste on the environmental monitoring. Who are the inspectors also from DTSC, which I don't know what's that process, because usually when we report, we call Air Quality Management District. So how do they interact to know, the violations that they're being issued, right, from that facility or waste location? And then also, I'm like, wow, the map, the concentration of all these facilities in LA and really close or in Wilmington. And from technical review, I see that there's engineers, geologists, toxologists, and all of that. Is there anybody involved in the health aspect of it, impacts? And for
Magali, I'm sorry. Yes. Can we give Anadeep an opportunity to respond before? Because I think you've asked 2 or 3 questions already into one.
Oh, yeah, I did. I have like two pages.
Well, we may not have time for all of those, but I'd like to give Anadeep an opportunity to respond.
Okay.
So that the audience can follow along.
Thank you, Annette. So Magali, I know you have a lot of questions. I don't know if you have attended the boot camp that was given to the EJAC members. But if you have too many questions that we cannot answer regarding permitting in this session, I'd be happy to give you boot camp again. Looks like you missed last time when I gave it to all the EJAC members. But to answer the questions that you just asked, for the health risk, we do make the facility submit a health risk assessment, and that health risk assessment is looked up by our toxicologists. So that's the health risk that the toxicologists review. So regarding the enforcement question that you asked, I'm not clear on like what is it that you wanted to know. Usually, the enforcement inspections are surprise inspections. Nobody, even the permitting project manager, doesn't know. They just show up, and if they see any violations in terms of things that are not on the permit, violations are issued. And the facility will be given a statement of violation, which will be on the EnviroStore page that I just showed you, where it gives you a list of all the enforcement inspections, the findings, the violations, and when they were corrected. So it's all open on the EnviroStore page when inspections happen. And yeah, I don't know if that answered your enforcement question, but if you want detail, I can.
Yeah, I was in the boot camp, and I do understand that process. However, I just wanted, my question was if there's other agencies like Air Quality Management District that are interconnected, and so they can get the reports, if you can get the reports from AQMD when people are calling to report issues, right? So that's what I wanted to know, because that last time there was no answer for that.
So, to the best of my knowledge, if the enforcement looks at anything that is involved in the permit, which is hazardous waste handling, right? So if Air Board has a permit with them, it falls under the Air Board's purview, unless it is specifically written in DTSC's permit that we also check the whatever air monitoring system they have. So usually, like I was saying, we only look at the treatment, storage, and disposal of hazardous waste. If it is anything that goes into the air, it's the Air Board that actually takes care of it. Unless, again, to reiterate, if it is listed specifically in the permit that is given by DTSC.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Anadeep and Magali, for your questions. Are there any other council member questions specific to the permitting overview? All right. Thank you so much. Seeing none. Thank you, Anadeep, for your information. That was a great overview of the permitting process. For the members in the audience, please note that the links that Anadeep mentioned are in the chat box. Are there any? Yeah, nope, I'm good. So next, I will turn it over to Magali for a community update.
Yes. Hi, everyone. We're going to now turn into an open forum, and this is on environmental justice issue that is urgent matter that is happening right now. And there are a lot of community members right here from Campton and Willowbrook, which are the community that is being heavily impacted by World Oil. And we are here because there is an issue with a permitting process that is going through right now through the DTSC. It looks like there was already a pre-authorization for something specific. I don't want to get into that one right now, but it should be also explained, if possible, by DTSC. But we want to address the community, what's going through on health impacts, and how there isn't enough overview of DTSC, and also the only people that or agency that has been addressed or reported to right now is through AQMD. And I understand they're more about the air quality and not about the toxic, but the toxic hazardous materials is what is causing that air quality to go that bad, that causes children to have nosebleeds, headaches to grown-ups, and also to the children as well as to the whole community. And this is the Class 3 permit modification for Demno Cardone 200 North Alameda Street in Compton, California. And this is a response to a desperate outreach from the community that I've been meeting with. Specifically, some of the parents from one of the elementary schools, the Jefferson Elementary School, which is very close, less than 0.2 miles away from this facility. So since in my question regarding that if the agencies are communicating with each other is because AQMD is already conducted some tests and they said it's a tank that has a leak, and I think that's DTSC also responsibility as well. So I want to the community that is here present to be able to speak on what's happening to the community right now, to the children, specifically from the Jefferson Elementary School. I've been sitting with them and listening to their concerns, and I think there has to be accountability. There has to be more information into the community for the permitting process. These public comments and letters and notice on newspaper doesn't cut it. It's not enough. And also, this is a big facility, which actually it says on one of the documents that is the largest one in the state of California for oil waste and also for them the production of other products of petroleum, right, byproducts. So I would like to open it up to the community, so for public comments and also for testimonies if possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Magali, for that overview. This is a great example of why early community engagement in the permitting process matters. It's exactly the kind of issue the work plan that we discussed earlier is meant to help surface sooner. Okay, so, whoops, where am I stuck? I'd now like to open the floor for public comment on the permitting process and the World Oil Compton facility. Each speaker will have 2 minutes and 2 minutes only, because we want to make sure that we hear from as many people as possible in the time allotted. Please state your name and affiliation if relevant. If you are on Zoom and wish to speak, please raise your hand now. We will start with Zoom speakers, then comments from the Spanish language dial-in line, then we will read comments from the chat aloud. And if there is a Spanish comment, we will ask the interpreter to come in. We do expect strong interest in this topic tonight. If we have more speakers than time allows, we will take as many as we can and ask remaining commenters to submit written comment by email or by phone. That information will be in the chat. If someone else has already made the point you wanted to make, you're welcome to say you agree rather than repeat it or note it in the chat. There will be a follow-up community meeting focused specifically on this facility where we can go deeper into the conversation. And
in that, a reminder that you were planning to put up a timer too, I believe.
Is my timer not showing anymore?
I think it was more of a running timer as opposed to give folks a reminder of how much time they have for speaking.
Yep. Well, we just have to go with it at this point in time. I can keep track of the time. I apologize for any of the speakers. I've got a running timer here as well as the one that's on the screen. I don't have another timer, so we'll work that out for our next meeting. It looks like I'm just going to go in the order that I see the names. Ricardo, iPhone.
Hi, my name is Ricardo Cruz. I'm a resident in Compton, California. I live maybe 0.1 miles away from the facility. My son attends Jefferson Elementary School, which is 0.2 miles from there. Lately, it's just been getting so bad. I've been calling air Q quality every other week. They had an incident about about like I want to say a month ago, one of their tanks exploded. So they keep on citing them. They can again I call every 2 weeks, so they get a citation every 2 weeks or something like that. But they only get a slap on the wrist, and that's how it happens. And they keep on violating. So for how long is this gonna happen before the permit gets canceled or something? That needs to happen, because this is getting out of control now with them, especially with the explosion that they had a month ago. I don't know what else could go wrong now.
Okay, Ricardo, was there more?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you so much for your engagement. We appreciate it. April.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Abril Villanueva, I'm a Jefferson Elementary parent. I am the president of Golden Block Club in Compton, California. We live 0.07 miles away from World Oil, and I'm here because first of all, I wanted to thank the person that did the presentation about the permit. It was a wonderful presentation. I appreciate having the information. However, I had a couple of questions regarding the community outreach. A lot of people don't read newspapers anymore. I'm college educated. I have a BA. Before I moved to Compton, California, I had no idea what AQMD was, what DTSC was, or EJAC, or any of these organizations. If I was even to open the newspaper, how do I know what I'm looking for? I've been very fortunate that I've been able to do some research. I guess it's not fortune. I guess it's privilege. I've been very privileged that I've been able to be able to do some research and get information in that way. And a lot of people have been very lovely. They've been educating me in this process. However, I live in Compton. Jefferson Elementary is in Willowbrook, which is part of LA County. Those are two different jurisdictions. The school is part of Compton Unified School District, which is the meeting place with both locations. There should be an outreach to the school and education to the school. A lot of community members, they're resilient and they're great. However, this entities is hard for me to process. I can't even imagine how much harder it is for them. And it's not their fault. I think there's a problem with the outreach. I didn't even know that there was a public section until somebody on Instagram contacted me. Tonight, I found out about that. There's a mailing list. I found out that, that there's certain ways that I could get updates. However, we don't get that. The fumes at World Oil has been so overwhelming the past few weeks that is reaching all the way to Lourdes Park, which is 1.50 miles. And my daughter cannot wear a mask when she's swimming. And I keep hearing, you should change your daughter from swimming classes. You should move. You should this. But I never hear, what is World Oil doing? And how is this affecting the final environmental impact report? There has been increase in costs and emissions. And I also wanted to understand, what is the correlation between emissions and the increase of petroleum smells that we've been experiencing? I had a nosebleed. My daughter had a nosebleed. Other students, the more that I talk to parents, the more that I get to find out that this is a common occurrence. There's a daycare that is in Pine Street in Santa Fe. And at a city meeting, I got to find out that his daycare, that the students are having nosebleeds. How is that being put into the community health assessment report? Are you guys communicating with the community? Are you guys also talking to the health department? How is this being put into the community and the report? I think is very important. I think, and I'm hoping that tonight that'll be part of this permitted process. And also we have a meeting at Jefferson Elementary. I know there's going to be a meeting at Compton on Tuesday, but it's 3 to 4. A lot of people can afford to go a meeting from 3 to 4. People have jobs. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, April. Please, just a quick reminder, 2 things. One is that there will be a follow-up meeting on this specific topic, and we'll make our best efforts to ensure that people are made aware of that, and that we would like to keep the comments to 2 minutes just to make sure that we get as many people into the conversation as possible. Aaron Diaz, I believe you're next.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Diaz, and I'm a resident of Compton, living less than a mile from the World Oil Recycling Facility. As you guys continue discussions on World Oil's permitting process, I ask that the lived experiences of nearby residents remain at the center of your decision making. For years, my neighbors and I have experienced persistent petroleum odors near our homes, parks, and schools. We have been told these odors have been associated with tanks used to store and manage hazardous waste at the facility. And these are not just unpleasant smells, they are a constant reminder that hazardous waste operations are occurring next to where our families live, learn, and play. I also want to ask whether the final environmental impact report will reflect the significant events and community experiences that have occurred since the draft was prepared. Specifically, will it address the increase in petroleum odors, the May 21st incident at the World Oil facility, which was a fire, and the concerns that students and families at Jefferson Elementary School have repeatedly voiced about the impacts they have experienced. These are important developments that should be considered to ensure the environmental review accurately reflects current conditions and the realities facing our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Amy Kwarkume?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Amy, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. No, you're breaking up. Amy, we will come back to you in just a second while you work through that part. Let's go to Serlene Grant, please.
Yes, hi, thank you. Deputy Director Mandy Bain with Hazardous Waste Management Program, the one that oversees the permitting process, is on the call, and she has something she would like to say. She was trying to raise her hand, but we're not seeing it. So if we could call on her next, please.
Of course. Director Bain.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I've never done Zoom on a cell phone. I'm driving to a doctor's appointment, believe it or not.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mandy Bain. I am over permitting and enforcement and policy, as Serlene mentioned. And I have been, following this issue since we first heard about it. Have talked to Abril. Thank you for being here tonight and for speaking here. We have been in constant communication with the Air Quality Management District as well. I first reached out to them as soon as I heard, because odors really is under their purview. They have the authority to issue the violations when there are odors like that are impacting the community. I definitely encourage everyone to come to, if you're able. I'm not sure why the city changed it to earlier in the day, but I know that AQMD and the LA County Public Health and also myself will be there to present and to answer questions as well. So I just also wanted to take a second to clarify a couple of things. One is that the temporary authorization that was issued, that is a temporary authorization that allows them to operate centrifuge, which is part of their closure plan for cleaning out and removing one of the large wastewater tanks there. That is standard protocol for that type of permit. There's really not, because it's a temporary authorization, it meets certain requirements. So there's not really a process for that one. The Class 3 permit modification, I heard a few people talk about, that is already in the past. But what we have coming up is the permit renewal. And so before we start the public comment period, I've been working a little bit with Cindy at East Yards to make sure that we can have a nice public meeting so that we can really have time to answer any questions and kind of walk through some of the more technical aspects of the facility and their permits so that everyone can really understand. So I'm really happy that we'll be able to do that before we start the public comment period. We will absolutely do outreach beyond the notice in the newspaper, and so I expect that everyone that would like to participate should be able to do that. And I wanted to also say there is the Cal EPA complaints portal, and I'm hoping someone is able to maybe put that link in the chat. So for AQMD, I know you all have it memorized. You call 1-800-CUT-SMOG, and that is so important. I'm so glad that you all are reporting when there's an odor. And even though it's such a pain, I want to encourage you to continue to do that. It's very important, even when it might not feel like it at that moment. It is very important. So please continue to call 1-800-CUT-SMOG when you have odors in the community. If you have a complaint or something you would like to report that's related to hazardous waste specifically, that online portal is really the best option for reporting something to DTSC. I think I'll leave it there because I do want to give everyone an opportunity that wants to speak. So thank you for letting me clarify some things. I'll just close by saying, everyone deserves to have clean air and clean water and, a healthy environment to thrive in. And that is absolutely our goal and our commitment. And so I am really sorry that that you all have been experiencing these odors and the health symptoms that have come along with those nuisance odors. So know that we are definitely, doing what we can to try to resolve and understand, what is happening with the odors. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mandy, for that information. Amy Kwakame, were you able to get your microphone working?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I won't be before it's long this evening. I want to say thank you for allowing me to speak. One of the most heartbreaking situations when I received a picture from a young child with a bleeding nose, all the way from Harvard University, over 2,000 miles from World Oil. And that's how much of an impact this has made on our community, but also families who live just miles away. And it's shocking to me that months later, officials have not given us evidence or explanation as far as what's happening and what should be done next. My name is Amy Parkway. I'm the director of the Port Future Lab at Howard University. I appreciate the council receiving my comments. Know that we are watching here from Howard training students to find out what is happening for themselves. But we urge you to ensure that permitting process is grounded in science, transparency, accountability, and with the highest question of, is the community health being considered? Our expectation here is that the community is heard, but we know that any policy without enforcement is nothing. Any listening ear without action is nothing as well. So we want the families to know that there's action going to be taken, that from every policy there's enforcement, and with the permitting, there's more that's going to be done. Our students in Wilmington and Compton are frustrated, not just with what's happening and what's not happening, but even with their monitors, that their monitors jam and malfunction because of the high levels of pollution that they're experiencing. And that should be concerning. We experienced this all the way at Howard, 2,000 miles away, and we stand here and stand with our hearts knowing that the Compton community is strong and we support them. And we just would like the committee to just hear that whatever's happening with the permitting, what's happening with the consequences of those things, have follow-up. Lastly, I'll say the Howard faculty on the call, staff, the postdoctoral students here.
Annette, can I say something? Amy, this is Serlene Grant with DTSC. Thank you for your comments. At the beginning, they were a little garbled, and at the end, you faded away. So if you were reading, it looks like she disappeared too. If anyone here knows Amy, if you can find out if she was reading, if she can email her comments to us, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know her. I work directly with her. We're doing the grassroots community community air quality monitoring and basically gathering the data and making sure that this data belongs to the community as well. So yes, I will ask her, and I believe she will be submitting something in writing as well, because she had already reached out to AQMD and asking questions as well to other agencies to make sure that she's getting the information required for her to start doing all the data collection and research analysis.
Thank you. And I also saw her comment in the chat, so I think she could hear us. We just weren't hearing her.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Jacqueline Badejo.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Jacqueline Badejo. I am what they call a hub and a dub, baby, from Watts, Willowbrook to Compton. And when you go along that Alameda corridor, it's so much pollution. And specific to the World Oil, man, it's just, I've been listening to everyone, all the complaints, and just really seeing how the agencies will come together. I represent Watts Clean Air and Energy Committee as well. And with that, we are a community co-lead with CARB, the California Air Resource Board, and South Coast Air Quality Management District for South LA. And Compton is a part of that jurisdiction. And with this, my biggest thing is just making sure that agencies create the space to work with one another. Thank you for the collaborations that you have done so far. And let us think of who else could join the party, right? Because this right here is so serious. And within that AB 617 space with South Coast, the community has been complaining relentlessly about this to the point that I even forgot I grew up maybe less than half of a mile at a church in Willowbrook, and we smell it every Sunday. And this is something that has been pressing. And I know when it comes to permitting and all of the right? Legislative things there, we have to figure out the roadmap to cutting red tape and really addressing these land use issues. To my understanding, I believe maybe World Oil has been grandfathered in. They've been there so long before the schools and things came around, and that just gives us an idea of the bigger picture and how we really develop communities with less pollution, lowered emissions, and that could truly become sustainable. And so even local gardeners and farms, they complain that how it's impacting the plants. So if it's negatively impacting the plants, we definitely know that the community has been heavily burdened. And so I know I've experienced 40 plus years of this. And so I just want to say thank you, everyone. Stay motivated and focused. Definitely the air monitoring is one thing that we have to really focus on. We have a bandwidth problem in communities, and this is where we have to get together with partners. I would like to see the county participate in this conversation as well, because as mentioned earlier, it gets tricky when it comes to the jurisdictions. You have county, unincorporated county, and so forth. And so I just commend you on all the work that you're doing. I also believe that we all deserve quality, clean air, water, soil, everything is connected. And man, I would be reaching out to you guys to see, I would like to participate further. And I do agree with the outreach. If there's any way that I can get that information and do additional outreach to make sure community is able to come, because there truly is an educational gap. And my greatest hope is that it's a lot of clarity and education that could be provided that day as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I had seen a hand raised. Cindy?
Yes, sorry. Is it like I can go now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy. My pronouns she, her. I'm an organizer and community member with Eastern Communities for Environmental Justice. I really appreciated the presentation on the permits. It gives a lot of context of things that I had to learn with other folks kind of on our own when we first started engaging on this. And so I think if those materials were shared in the email or if they're on the website, that'd be helpful to continue being able to share with others as well. And the upcoming permit, there's a lot to review. And I just want to make sure that community members are like, it's really important that community members be part of the conversation, as the folks that live there, that work there, that go to school there, and that are breathing, living right next to this facility. And I understand that the Alameda corridor is also really full of other industries and other businesses, and so this may not be the only source of pollution, but this is the one right now that folks are really understanding and learning about, and can hopefully also be a model to address other issues along the Alameda corridor as well. So thank you for having this open forum as well, and looking forward to more conversations to identify more solutions and really improve the quality of life for everyone.
Thank you, Cindy. Magali.
Yes, so Dr. Amy from Howard University, Fort Comey, asked me to read her comment. And she says, good evening. One of the most heartbreaking moments in my work was receiving a photograph of a child with a bloody nose with a complaint about the World Oil's air pollution concerns. The most shocking part was the silence. Now, 1 month after, from government officials about what will be done. As a researcher, I can tell you history will not remember that community just spoke and you listened. It will remember what was done after they spoke. My name is Dr. Amy Yeboha Kwarkume, Executive Director of the Core Future Lab at the Howard University, over 2,600 miles from World Oil, but it also impacts us. I appreciate that the Council has requested listen to the community about their concerns. We are watching here from Howard University, training youth researchers and monitoring the data. We urge you to ensure that this permitting process is grounded in science, transparency, and accountability, with community health as the highest priority. The expectation is not only that communities are heard, but that their concerns lead to meaningful actions. Our students, interns in Wilmington and Compton have shared their frustration with the challenges of monitoring air quality in these communities, repeatedly malfunctioning or requested replacement while operating in areas with persistently poor air pollution, with high air pollution. Their experiences reinforce what residents have been saying for years. Communities deserve clean air, credible science, and decisive action. The message today is simple. Communities are watching. We ask that you require a thorough and transparent review of the cumulative health impacts before any permit is approved. Ensure meaningful community engagement throughout the process and hold all the parties accountable. What is a policy without enforcement? What is a listening ear without action? I can tell you, history will not remember that community spoke and you listened. It will remember what was done after they spoke. Today, Howard University faculty, staff, and postdoctoral students on the call, we ask you to transform concern into meaningful protection for the children and families who call these communities home. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kwakame, and thank you, Magali, for sharing that. I have heard from our interpreters, Mark and Letitia, that there are no comments on the Spanish language line. If there are no more comments from our Zoom members, I'd like to read the comments that are in chat. Eric.
Yes, let me get off mute again. Okay. I wanted to hold off and before I raise my hand to make sure all the community members on Zoom got a chance to speak. But I'm Eric Nolan with Stewarding Design LLC, environmental consultancy. And I just want to say, listening to Abril and Aaron and Amy and Jacqueline and Cindy and the professor at Harvard now, which is great, but as a Harvard graduate myself. So it's really powerful what they have to say. And it points to the fact that their voices need to be heard. I agree that just hearing their voices is not enough, but having that conduit for their voices to flow through to the EJAC to then take action is so vital, and hearing from them is so important, and their story is powerful. So pretty emotional about that, but thank you for that. I did want to say too, thank you, Anit, for your presentation on TSD permitting. I think that's also important to know, but I want to make sure that we don't forget about a huge segment of the hazardous waste value chain, and that's the generators. There are over 3,000 large quantity generators in California. Those are facilities that generate more than 2,200 pounds of hazardous waste in a single month. So those facilities are out there. They're the places where those hazardous wastes are started. That's where the chemicals assemble for manufacturing or processing or whatever, and are then generated as hazardous waste and get shipped from those facilities to these collection facilities that where a lot of these permits occur. Now, a lot of the permitted facilities also are generators, but I think it's important that we also consider that these hazardous wastes come from a lot of different places and could impact communities. Even though those might be smaller facilities, the potential impact is there. So I don't want the EJAC to forget about the overall impact of hazardous waste in our full value chain and how that impacts communities throughout. So I just wanted to bring that point up. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. All right, before I go to April, is there anyone else who has not had a chance to speak yet that would like to on the Zoom call? Okay, I'm seeing nothing. April?
Okay, this is my daughter. She'd like to make a public comment.
Hi, my name is Allison Salas, and I go to Jefferson Elementary School. One thing about World Oil, it just smells like petroleum. I can't even breathe sometimes. Sometimes I hold my breath and say, what am I doing? Why is it smelling like petroleum? And sometimes I just get really sad because I can never escape these smells. These smells it's like a shadow. They follow you. They follow you around everywhere. When I just went to my swimming class and it smells like petroleum. It smells everywhere. It smells at my school, my house, my garden, and my park and my swimming pool area. And I'm tired of it. It smells so bad. I just don't like it. But thank you.
Thank you so much for that comment. We appreciate it. All right. Anyone else on Zoom? Nothing on Spanish language. So let me just read the comments in the chat really quickly. Also from April, needing more outreach at Jefferson Elementary. It would be helpful to make a public comment at the Compton City Council meeting as well. Also outreach to what I CUSD, which I'm guessing is Compton Unified School District, if they can post the meetings in their Parent Center app. Allison has a written public comment as well as sent one via email. Supervisor Holly Mitchell and Mayor Emma Sharif need to be here in this conversation. We also need to consider the homeless or unhoused people that are in the community. There are animals in Willowbrook that are not being included in the conversation. And it looks like that is it in the comments. Are there any final comments from our council members on this topic?
Miguel has his hand raised.
Miguel.
So I just wanted to thank every single member of the public today that joined us, and I'm hopeful that we can keep the dialogue continued and that we work together to bring even more people on to these meetings, because I think this is exactly the kind of reason why the EJAC exists, is to create spaces for these dialogues to happen and for us to see some type of tangible change from it. So thank you again to everyone, especially that young person that commented. That was really powerful, and thank you so much for being unafraid to do so and speaking with great wisdom. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. In the chat as well, I forgot to mention there is a Cal EPA complaint line linked into the chat. And then Sirlene, just as a process question, I had a Gary Hammond info. Should I include that in the chat?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. If there are no other, Magali.
Yes, I just want to make sure that that's something that we need to continue this conversation, that we need to convey this, testimonies, and not only, like the professor mentioned, to be just the words being spoken right now and no action is taken after. I do need, I do see the need, and I don't know if my colleagues, EJAC, are with me on this, but I do see the need that we need to, just as we are getting educated and informed of the process of permitting, that we also need to do that for the DTSC staff. Because what I just heard from someone that came in that is going to be in a meeting with the community, she didn't mention that she can utilize us as EJACs. And, it's concerning to me because there is a detachment, and we really need to start doing some sort of project or process for us to give them a workshop or training on what environmental justice or environmental racism is and how that works from the community perspective. So I don't know if that can be in the future, but I do see the need, and I don't know if you also see that need as well. And I want to thank you, all the community. Blessings, bendiciones, and we're going to do this together. We're together on this. We have only one planet. We have only one community around us, and we need to protect each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Magali. Serlene.
Yeah, so I want to emphasize something you said earlier, and before we took the public comment and whatnot, and that is that DTSC wants to have a community meeting prior to the formal public comment period with the community in Compton for just this purpose of educating people about the project. And Miguel and I talked about it. If I can conjure your name into this, it could be Miguel and I talked about it, and he even said, but people don't trust DTSC. So I said we were going to sit down and figure out a way to do this meeting where when you got the presentation and the materials that everyone, if it's co-hosted with the EJAC, if it's co-hosted with the Compton community members that came tonight, I don't know. We're going to have to sit down and plan that. But we want to have that before the formal public comment period for permitting. So I'll say that. And then Magali, to your point about teaching DTSC about environmental justice, yes, that's what my division does, but we can always have more people bringing the work into our tent. So we are not opposed to that. So thank you both.
Thank you, Serlene. I see in the chat from Jim Montez that yes, workshops or an EJAC tour it could be on the horizon. There's a call for that, and that from April again, we need to restore trust in the community and the importance of getting them to come into these spaces. There is a lot of frustration, and understandably so when your daily lives are impacted in such a way. Fabiola, we have just first of all. Miguel, do we have your approval to go a little bit over time?
Yes.
Okay. So we can take probably one last public comment, and then in the chat, of course, are links to where you can provide written comment and the phone numbers if you wish to call someone. Fabiola, please.
Hi, I'm not Fabiola, but I am Fabiola's daughter. And I just wanted to speak about my concern about the pollution in...
Dilo quién eres.
Oh, sorry. I'm Sofia.
Soy una niña de 13 años.
I'm 13 years old. I go to middle school, and I'm located in Orange County. But I have a big concern for those who are living in the area of Compton and Wilmington and so on that live close near pollution and factories that create pollution, because I feel really bad. Like I heard a girl saying about her story that goes to Jefferson Elementary that she can't breathe good air, and she always smells this chemical petroleum, and I just feel really bad, and I want something to be done because I know people that go to schools like her in Compton and Wilmington, and they also speak that they have problems breathing just like her. And I just feel really bad for the people that live over there and people that live near factories, because I feel like we all have a right to breathe good air and drink good water, being able to go to the park without smelling this terrible smell, and being able to do gardening without having poor soil. And I just feel that we all have a right to drink good water, like I said, and breathe good oxygen. Because when you go to the beach, you want to have fun and you want to have clean water. But how could you do that when nobody's doing anything? Nobody's speaking about how there's a problem with factories being close to schools, being close to, for an example, churches and other places that people go to in an everyday life. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. And I won't read all the comments in the chat, but Sophia, both you and Allison are getting lots of kudos for our youth speaking up about this subject. So thank you so much. Okay, so unless there is anything else from Zoom or on the Spanish language line, we're going to close this public comment period and head into our next steps and adjournment. As a reminder, tonight the council did not approve the work plan as presented and have deferred that conversation to their next meeting. And let's see, there are no comments in the Spanish language line. Thank you to Mark and to Letitia for your support on the Spanish language line. Matthew, are there any action items?
I think the action items we crossed off the list were approving the May meeting minutes, which we were able to do. And then we voted on the work plan, which we agreed we would regroup on. So I think that really is the action item, is getting alignment with the team during our next working session.
Okay, we approved
that anyone thinks I missed?
We approved the June meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the June minutes. Okay. Right now, the council's work plan subcommittee will tentatively meet on August 26, 2026. It's tough to say. Details will follow. If there is nothing else for the good of the group from our council members, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all so much for your time and participation today.